Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast, a podcast where we explore the latest trends, insights and innovations in the world of technology and how they impact business. And today we have a special guest joining us. His name is Jesper Trolle, and he's the CEO of Exclusive Networks, a global cybersecurity and cloud transformation specialist. And in this episode, we'll dive into the fascinating world of cybersecurity, discuss the critical role of Exclusive Networks in helping companies keep their data safe and secure. But most importantly, we're going to explore today the ongoing cybersecurity skill shortage and share initiatives to connect young people and individuals from any industry and any background with how they can better access cybersecurity education and career opportunities. And we also emphasise the need for diversity, a variety of perspectives and on-the-job training in the industry to attract more people to it. And we'll also discuss the importance of international collaboration between businesses and governments in combating cybercrime, and also touch on the challenges in today's interconnected world, especially in the rise of remote working. And we will talk about Exclusive Academy's innovative 3-year programme designed to address the cybersecurity skill shortage that we're seeing right across the world right now, and the importance of international collaboration in the fight against cybercrime. So buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Paris, where Jesper is waiting to talk about all this and much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Jesper. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
So first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate being here. So my name is Jesper Trolle. I'm the CEO of Exclusive Networks. Originally, I'm born and raised in Denmark, but I'm now residing in Paris, in France, where I'm leading the strategic development of Exclusive Networks. Maybe a little bit for the audience about who Exclusive Networks is.
Yeah.
So we are a cybersecurity specialist. We sit in a what we call a very fragmented ecosystem of a lot of manufacturers of cybersecurity solutions, and on the other hand, a lot of customers across the world in different segments and different industries that all needs more cybersecurity solutions to defend themselves against growing pain points associated with data breaches and perpetrators getting into the networks of companies.
And for people hearing about you for the first time, Exclusive Networks is a $2 billion cybersecurity specialist listed on, I think, the Euronext. And I'm curious, just for those people that are listening all over the world, hearing about you for the first time, can you offer an overview of how you match corporates with innovative cyber tech to keep ultimately data safe and innovate through different partnerships? Because that's essentially what you do, right?
That is what we do. Well said. So actually, we are a 2 billion euro market cap cybersecurity company, as you said, listed on Euronext in Paris. We just finalized our FY 2022 with sales of 4.5 billion, actually. So it's a bit larger than that. We operate globally. We have offices across 46 countries around the world. We employ about 2,800 people, and we are selling into 170 countries around the world. What we do is we are seeking out and identifying cybersecurity manufacturers in the most innovative sectors. In the key cybersecurity segments, today there are like 25 different cybersecurity segments that, as a customer, you need in terms of protecting you against threats. We focus predominantly on the 6 key ones here, and what we are doing is we are scouting the market. We are always sort of evaluating companies coming into the market, try and assess their technology, their go-to-market motions, and then if we deem these are good technical companies, we will work with them and help them to grow and scale their business predominantly internationally. Most vendors today still come out of the US. We then make a partnership with them, and we take them to market through all of our 2,800 people and through an indirect selling motion, or what's called the channel, which consists of close to 26,000 partners across the world. And we help those partners by giving them access to these leading products and solutions. And then around it, we have a wide portfolio of services, from demand gen, lead gen, sales enablement services, technical assessment services where we help with proof of concepts, proof of value, solution design. And then we have what we call post-sale services where we are assisting our partners and their customers with things like support, maintenance, and a more professional service-oriented matters as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And one of the big reasons I invited you on the podcast today was to talk about the cybersecurity skills shortage, because I think anybody that scrolls down their newsfeed at the moment, they might be feeling a little bit uneasy about the rise of things like generative AI, automation. Traditional job roles are disappearing. But one thing that we don't talk about enough is this cybersecurity skills shortage and how the demand for cyber skills is actually outweighing the supply of available talent. I was reading the other day that I think it was 0% unemployment in cybersecurity, but now it's gone to negative. But can you talk about the scale of the problem here?
Yeah, it's a problem that affects the entire industry, quite honestly. We are in a world where within cyber, and this is every job in cyber, so it's not just sales, it's technical, it's analysts, it's SOC employees, network operating center, etc. We have a lack of about 4 million people in the working population globally, and in fact there is some studies coming out that shows that for the cybersecurity sort of working population to grow at just fulfilling the needs of today's environment, that needs to grow by 65% of what's there today. What's also astonishing is that most of the people in the cybersecurity sector today have actually not taken an education in the cybersecurity sort of specialization. So they're coming into the industry from a lot of other industries across the board. And we've sort of set out saying we need to do a better job as an industry connecting talent with the cybersecurity industry, both young people who are coming to market for the first time and who are currently taking an education and start to sort of specializing on where they want to go, but also people who maybe want to join an industry from another industry, because this is an industry that, driven by the cybersecurity spend, which ultimately is driven by the advancing threat landscape, is an industry that's going to continue to grow for decades. And so, there is great opportunities for a career here. So we've done a couple of things here. We have, first of all, we launched what we call Exclusive Academy. So here we are working with a couple of professional schools around the education of young students on cybersecurity. So we have committed with a couple of schools in France and also in the US to take students that are going through a theoretical training in their schools. We are working with these schools on the curriculum. We help providing mentoring and coaching. And then we also have in some countries, like in France, we have the students coming to us through a 3-year education. They're coming to us for a little bit under half of the time, where they are working alongside our technical consultants, so that the idea here is when these people are sort of fully educated, they're actually starting to come into the marketplace with both theoretical skills, but also practical skills, so they can add value from day one. So we launched this last year, and this year will be the second year of that. We also have a relationship with California Polytechnic College in the US. And then we are working with a couple of public institutions where we are doing what we call public-private coalitions, where we try and bring together different thought leaders, public funding, to drive this whole agenda of getting more talent and more people into the cybersecurity industry. Because as you can imagine, it doesn't matter if you have the best products in the world to defend yourself. If you don't have the people to actually manage it, it's a significant issue. And one astonishing data point in all of this is that 95% of all breaches that happens in the world today comes down to a human error. And so the human size of the human interaction with cybersecurity is absolutely critical. It's not only about the product and the technical solutions.
Absolutely. And I would imagine when it comes to taking down the bad guys, we need a diversity of thought and unique perspectives from a wide variety of backgrounds. And the tech industry does have a certain perception. It's a certain individual that fits that kind of role. And I think everyone's kind of hoping that we'll get to somewhere, everything from that young person that's leaving education, wanting a career in tech, to a mother that maybe her kids have left home and wants to focus on creating a new career for herself, or someone that considers themselves non-technical or non-academic that wants to pursue a different career, or somebody from a minority background that's not represented, etc. So for anybody listening anywhere in the world that's not in the tech industry at the moment, that may be thinking about, hey, there's an opportunity here to pursue a new career in cybersecurity, where should they begin? What kind of qualifications would they be looking for to secure a role and get that foot on the ladder?
Yeah, I think first of all, I strongly agree with your point, right? I think the threat landscape is very diverse. And as a result of that, we need to be diverse on our side. It's a big agenda item for Exclusive Networks. We are focusing a lot on this, having a diverse workforce as well. There are a couple of ways you can enter into this industry. Obviously, you can come to a company like ours, where we work with both up and downstream companies in the ecosystem. I think we see a lot of the totality of the cybersecurity industry, the goods and the bads. You also have there is a growing focus on this. There is a lot of what called hackathons and boot camps where you invite people in. They work on a smaller subject for a period of time, and then there is some kind of level of gamification, and you can then win education, and it's sponsored by employers who want to attract talent, right? I think as with most other things in life, it starts with an interest that you would like to go into the cybersecurity industry, and once you have that, that's the way I would do it.
And you mentioned a few moments ago the Exclusive Academy there.
Yeah.
One of the things that stood out for me when I was reading up on it is it's a 3-year program, but it combines on-the-job experience with formal training. Can you expand on that? Because I think it's so important. It's so much more than just a boot camp. I think that on-the-job experience is what really makes it stand out for me, at least.
Yeah, it's it's a bit like taking a driver's license, right? You do the theoretical part, but you don't really still know how to drive the car. And here we are in a scenario where you go through a school and you understand the do's and the don'ts, and you understand how to do things, but you actually have never done it in life. And so what we try and aim for is to circumvent that by having these young kids coming in and work alongside our very experienced technical engineers and resources, and sort of on the job shadowing, if you want, where they're working with them, seeing how they do things, seeing what the real life look like, which is never the same as a textbook, even though there are some similarities. And the ultimate idea here is that, when these young kids come out, they are immediately ready to add value to their future employer. I hope obviously many of them will stay with Exclusive Networks, but some will most likely go into the wider ecosystem that we serve, which is okay, by the way, because ultimately we want more skills, more resource, and more people in this industry that we work with in.
Yeah, and if we were to zoom out, it almost feels like the businesses, governments, etc., all need to unite on solving this problem. So I'm curious, how do you see the role of organisations in tackling this shortage and working hand in hand with governments around the world? Is that what you think needs to happen?
Yeah, it does need to happen like this. I think we need to have many more educators looking at cyber as today you have math, science, and others, biology, etc. You need cyber in more schools. Today we see it mostly within technical universities, and I think we need more education opportunities out there. Then we need, that requires funding, and the funding has to come from governments and both public and private companies around the world. I think, when it comes to cyber, you raise a good point on solving the skills shortage, but actually also for cyber in general, right? We see more and more, government legislations coming out. We also see in Europe, we recently had the EU, the Resiliency Act, which serves to sort of protect businesses and companies and governments around the EU across borders, because obviously in the world of cyber, there is no real borders, as we are used to in the more physical world, and therefore it does require quite a strong integration between both businesses and governments across the world to ultimately fight off from this very accelerating threat landscape that we are dealing with.
It really is an accelerating threat landscape as well. We're currently in a moment of economic uncertainty all around the world, and also a huge increase in potential global conflict too. So on the subject of international collaboration in the fight against things like cybercrime, can you tell me a little bit more about how you're partnering with the ICC as well?
Yeah, so we struck a partnership with the International Chamber of Commerce to basically help their member organizations around the world getting access to cybersecurity advice and assessments. So, any member of the ICC community can come to Exclusive, and we'll help them assess their cybersecurity infrastructure. We will leverage our partners to sort of go and drive these assessments, and also help them with any services-led opportunity or any product refresh that needs to happen. So it's really to help. They have about, I think, 45 million member organizations around the world, and giving them access to sort of one place to go for cybersecurity. Right? It's cybersecurity has become. It moved from something that was a part of a CIO agenda in a company to really becoming agenda items for board of directors and therefore for CEOs around the world, because we as companies and as human beings we are talking about your show today as a podcast. It's all about technology, right? I don't want to date myself, but I grew up with an IT industry that we said was truly an industry, and actually now it's a horizontal industry that cuts across any piece of, it doesn't matter which company you're in, doesn't matter if you are in healthcare or if you're in pharmaceuticals or banking or insurance or making podcasts. If your systems are down, if you don't have access to data, if you can't access your tools, you're basically out of business. And it's that sort of dependency on technology, and in many cases digital transformation, that accelerated through COVID, that has led to this rapid increase in cybersecurity breaches, and therefore also rapid spend and growth in cybersecurity as a sector. It requires a lot of collaboration. Obviously, it doesn't help when you have the devastating war we saw, which is more than a year old now, with Ukraine, the geopolitical tensions between China, the US. I think the world is heading towards less globalization and more sort of sovereignty, and that also means that when you think about cyber, there are a lot of countries that are thinking about how do we promote French-based cyber companies in France, or US-based in the US, or so on and so forth. But coordination and between member states and between businesses is absolutely key, because at the end we are one interconnected network.
And I'm curious, as someone that's right in the heart of this space at the moment, what kind of trends are you seeing in cybersecurity? Is it, and especially with business leaders as well, is it the fear of state-sponsored attacks, or concern where their data is stored, or something completely different? What are you seeing there at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, right? One is we as human beings are working differently than we did 3 years ago. We now expect to be able to work from anywhere. I think we saw during COVID, there was an initial sort of concern of, wow, can we get access? Can we still do our work? And I think many companies realize that actually you can. Yes, you miss out on the sort of the corporate, hanging out around the coffee machine and the water cooler and what have you, but you could actually get stuff done. And that has led to a big change in how companies are working. Many companies I meet, they are scaling back on their office infrastructure, and they let people decide whether they want to spend 2 days, 3 days, 4 days in the office, or even 5, should they feel like it. That means the perimeter, there was a time where we came to the office, we worked behind the corporate firewall, and we were sort of safe, if you want. Now you're in a situation where every device, wherever people are, becomes the perimeter of the organization. And that has massively opened up for vulnerabilities in networks. And secondly, you have the move to cloud. I don't think there is any company that is not considering which workloads, what kind of data, and which application makes sense to move to the cloud. That has expanded also, again, the perimeter, because now you are not sitting on top of your own data. Your data might be stored in the cloud. You need to make sure that it's the right users that have access to the data, and not not the wrong users. Many people think that when you go to the cloud, you're fully secure, but actually they only secure sort of the container if you want. They don't secure the access to and from. And so that relies on you as the customer. And then third is just, again, this acceleration of digital transformation, where back to my earlier point of companies truly depend on IT, technology, and tools today, data as a mean of differentiation, right? If you're in retail, it's all about yield management. It's all about leveraging your data for a better customer experience. If you are in the entertainment industry, it's more and more online. And so every company is about leveraging your data for faster growth, more efficient growth, better customer experience. And it's that sort of drives this massive breach landscape or breaches that we are hearing about, right? No one will want to end up at the front of the Financial Times or in your podcast because they had a big breach. And unfortunately, we hear a lot of them. And so I would say these are sort of three trends towards cyber. Other trends are, and you mentioned it, is we saw predominantly after the war in Ukraine, we saw that actually modern warfare is not only fought on the ground or in the air or in the sea, it's also fought in the world of cyber. And so for hackers to come in and shut down the TV network so you can't control the messaging. In the US a couple of years ago, we had the shut off of the Colonial oil pipeline, which were basically supplying oil to a large part of the US. So this notion of what we know as critical infrastructure, which is not only, the army and artillery and stuff, it's also things that we truly are dependent on as humans, electricity, power plants. And that has led to a lot more legislation, started in the US with the President's executive order, then came the EU Resiliency Act, and we see more and more also country-wise, more and more government-led legislations coming out, which ultimately try and protect, the users and the people in the countries that are, whether you know it or you don't, are coming more and more dependent on these sort of key critical infrastructures.
And it's such an incredibly fast-moving space at the moment, and it's so busy, so much going on. I'm curious, what's next for you? Is there anything you can share about what you're going to be focusing on this year and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, we'll continue down the road, which we did after the IPO in September 21, which is keep making sure we take advantage of the opportunities we see in the market. We made some steps last year around the talent shortage. We continue to focus as a company on always expanding our services to our customers and to our vendors. So, helping them reach more customers, helping ultimately to defend both more consumers and more governments around more companies around the world. And so for us, it's really more of the same. I mean, we are in an industry that has a lot of growth built into it. The total spend on, it's two numbers that kind of are very interesting when you put them together. The total spend on cybersecurity is about $200 billion globally. And the total cost associated from cybersecurity crimes and breaches are estimated to be anywhere from 1 trillion to 8 trillion. So when you put these two numbers against each other, it's like, of course, companies going to continue to spend more because they're depending more and more on technology. But actually, the cost associated with a breach far outweighs the cost of defending. And so there's a lot of growth in this market. There is also a lot of fragmentation. There's a lot of noise. So, you have about 3,500 cybersecurity vendors. So having someone like Exclusive Networks that can go in with a proven model to assess who are maybe the right ones in the right segments and then help those, take them to market, make sure the channels are educated and they have the right services around it, is a very powerful value proposition for both the vendors themselves, but also for the partners and ultimately for the customers who try and defend themselves. So that's kind of where we are focused in this year and the years to come, by the way.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today and sharing your insights, everything you're seeing in the industry, and also how other people can get into the cybersecurity industry. So important, so many opportunities there. But I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with one final gift, and that is either a book that has inspired you that we can add to our Amazon wish list, or a song that means something to you that we can add to our Spotify playlist. All I'm going to ask is, what are you going to leave everyone listening with today and why?
Yeah, I love music, so we'll take a long Spotify list to make that work. So I think on books, we talked a lot about digital transformation today, right? And it is ultimately one of the things that truly drives this industry of cybersecurity. And there is a fairly recent book that came out that's called Digital Hesitation by J.B. Wood and Thomas La, which they come from an industry association called TSIA. And they've written about, despite all this rapid sort of digital transformation, why is it so difficult for companies to go from a more brick and mortar world into this world of digital transformation? They come from typically complex business models where there is maybe a lot of profit and margins, but also a lot of inefficiency, to a new world where it's all about speed, agility, transparency, maybe less margins, but higher growth. And so ultimately at the end, you lead to a better business. And so it looks at companies about why is it so difficult to make this shift, and what are some of the proven strategies and methodologies to go there. And, once you are, there's this saying that the data is the new oil, right? Because one of the things you get with digital transformation online businesses is you get more and more data. It's sort of a self-fulfilling, every day there's more data generated. An online business model is all about how do you leverage that data, even to give you as a consumer a better experience, me as a company reaching more customers at the right time with the right product, at the right decision maker, etc. So that book is very interesting, actually. I would recommend that highly.
Well, I'll get that added straight to our Amazon wish list. And for anyone listening, just want to find out a little bit more information about exclusive networks, exclusive academy, etc. What's the best starting point for everything?
Well, you can connect with us on Twitter, on EXN_networks. We are there. We are obviously on LinkedIn. You can go to our website, www.exclusive-networks.com. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. So would love to hear from your audience on either about specific points we talked about, or also how they can learn even more about the cybersecurity industry, or possibly joining our force for good here in protecting the world against cybercrimes.
Well, again, thank you for coming on today. One of the big things that I've enjoyed is, yes, documenting that cybersecurity skill shortage, how the demand for cyber skills is outweighing the supply of available talent, but the role that you're doing in trying to correct that with the Exclusive Academy and that 3-year program, combining on-the-job experience with formal training, and also that international collaboration in the fight against cybercrime. Such important topics. I think we're all guilty of scrolling down our newsfeed, seeing all the bad news. So it's great to hear about a solution to some of those problems. But just thank you for sharing that with me today.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Tech Talks Daily. So a huge thank you to our guest, Jesper from Exclusive Networks, for joining us today, sharing his valuable insights in the world of cybersecurity, the role of Exclusive Networks in helping companies stay protected, and the importance of international collaboration in the fight against cybercrime. And we did cover a lot of ground today, from addressing cybersecurity skill shortage, promising diversity in the industry, to exploring the challenges of today's interconnected world and the need for robust security measures. So I hope you found this episode as informative as I did, and hopefully it has inspired you to learn more about the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in to Tech Talks Daily. So if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe so you can catch future episodes, and also leave a review on your favourite podcasting platform, because it's your support that helps me to continue to bring you fascinating conversations and attract amazing guests like Jesper onto the show today. So don't forget to join us again for the next episode. We'll continue to explore the latest trends in insights and innovations shaping the world of technology and business. But it's time for me to sign off. So a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.